Welcome to Week 15 of Heidamath NCAA football predictions. This is Conference Championship weekend. Last weekend I was 6-1. I missed the Alabama game, but here's the way I look at it. Alabama got robbed, and Auburn got that last-second field goal in the first half that they never should have gotten. They had no timeouts. How did they get a review with no timeouts left? To get 1 second put back on the clock. It was. So I think the referees were all Auburn graduates.
That's one of those double-edged swords where you like having replay, but in this case, it definitely benefited Auburn.
So that was my one miss. Season so far, 63-26, which isn't bad. So this week we are going to look at the Power 6 conferences. And for those of you that are confused, yes, the American Athletic Conference is one of the 6 top conferences. I'm biased. It's my show. I get to do that. And I actually heard someone else say the Power 6.
It was probably the American commissioner.
It was on ESPN. I don't know who said it. Someone on ESPN said it. So we're going to go through the 6 games, and we're going to go in order of the times they're going to be played. So first, Friday night at 7 p.m., the Pac-12 Conference Championship, number 6, Utah, against number 14, Oregon. Utah's 11-1. Oregon is 10-2. Who do you pick?
I'm going to go Utah here by a touchdown to win their first Pac-12 title. Utah's only loss came when they did not have their leading rusher, Zach Moss. He's averaging over 6 yards a carry and has 15 touchdowns on the year. I think that him in the ground game combined with Tyler Huntley in the ground game and the ranked number 5 defense and defensive efficiency will get the job done against Oregon.
I think Oregon's got 2 losses, Auburn and Arizona State in a close one, but they crushed USC just a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to pick Oregon by 14. And they will have the best uniforms because they always do.
There's no doubt about that.
Okay, so we have a slight disagreement there. Next conference championship will be Saturday morning at 11 a.m. And all of these times are central because that's where we live. So number 9, Baylor 11-1 against number 6, Oklahoma 11-1. What do you think?
Baylor lost a heartbreaker a few weeks ago to Oklahoma. This is the first of quite a few rematches we'll get on this championship Saturday. Oklahoma was without C.D. Lamb. He's one of their big play receivers, averaging over 20 yards per reception and has over 1,000 yards on the year. I do think Baylor figured out the right recipe, so to speak, in how to stop or at least slow down the Oklahoma offense, and I think their offense is good enough to get the job done, so I'm going to go Baylor by a field goal in the rematch.
I'm going to go Oklahoma by 7 in the rematch. So far, we don't agree on anything, but I think, well, I don't know, we'll see if we agree on which one of these 3 teams is going to make it into the college football playoffs when we get to the next one. So next game, the American Athletic Conference Championship, 2:30 on ABC. Sunday, Cincinnati at Memphis, which is exactly what happened last week. Memphis won convincingly. What do you think?
Yeah, this is one of those that I've been kind of going back and forth on. The difference in last week's game was the quarterback play. Cincinnati started a true freshman quarterback, and he threw for 1 touchdown and 2 interceptions. Had 230 yards passing, while Memphis quarterback had the exact same yardage, but he had 2 touchdowns and 1 interception, and I think that was really what turned the game around. It's really hard to beat the same team more than once in a season, especially in back-to-back weeks. But I keep going back to Memphis having lost 1 home game over the last 3 years. So I'm going to go Memphis by a field goal, but I think Cincinnati makes it a lot more intriguing game than what it was a week ago.
I agree, Memphis. I don't think it's going to be that good of a game. I think Memphis is going to control from the initial kickoff to the end of the game, I think by 14, but they'll be in control the whole way.
Yeah.
Now, for one of the most closely watched and probably the most exciting conference championship will be the SEC championship at 3 o'clock on Saturday. Number 4 Georgia goes down to number 2 LSU.
Mhm.
Between the two of them, they've only lost one game.
Yep.
What do you think?
Well, going back to your most intriguing, I did right. This is probably the most interesting championship game. And for me, it's from the standpoint of LSU's offense, which is first in offensive efficiency, against Georgia's defense, which is third in defensive efficiency. So you've got one of the top units in the nation in defense going up against the top unit on offense. The difference, however, is Georgia's offense is in the lower half of the top 20s, while LSU's defense is in the upper half of the top 20s in defensive efficiency. And so it really comes down to, is LSU's defense going to make enough stops, or is Georgia's offense going to make enough plays? And in putting that situation, give me Dave Aranda and LSU's defense all day. I'm going to go LSU by a touchdown.
And I say LSU by 10. I think it'll be close. I think it'll be good. I think it'll be high scoring because I think those two powerhouse offenses will continue to push. But
I think Joe Burrow is going to lock up the Heisman in this game as well. Over 300 yards passing, probably 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Okay. Next conference championship is the ACC at 6:30 on ABC. Virginia 9-3, not even having that good of a season against Clemson 12-0, having a good season.
Yep.
So what do you think?
There's been a lot on Clemson this year in terms of just how they've looked, how the ACC is. You know, the ACC is kind of down this year. So the competition they've been playing isn't as good, or at least it's not viewed as good as, you know, LSU or Ohio State. But their average margin of victory on the year is 32 points, which is a lot, especially considering they had a 1-point win in North Carolina in that. They finished the year in the last 7 games with a margin of victory of 41 points. And Trevor Lawrence, over the last 5 weeks, has 16 touchdowns and no interceptions. I'm going to say Clemson big in this one.
I say Clemson by 3 touchdowns, which is the biggest spread I have of any of these games. So,
well, it's the biggest spread Vegas has too.
I think the ACC, you're right, has one good team this year.
Yep.
And we'll see how good they are when they get to the championship and have to play somebody from another conference. Okay, last conference championship, Big Ten, Saturday, 7 p.m. Ohio State against Wisconsin. Ohio State beat Wisconsin big mid-season, and they crushed Michigan big last week. So what do you think?
Yeah. Ohio State really, outside of Penn State, hasn't really been tested. And it kind of shows in the rankings that the college football committee's had. They've been number 1 for a few weeks. But then when you look at the overall team efficiency, they're first in overall team efficiency. Their offense and defense rank second in each category. Wisconsin's defense has looked porous at best the last few weeks. I don't see any way that they're going to be able to slow down Justin Fields and J.K. Dobbins and this Ohio State attack. Give me Ohio State by just as big as Clemson.
I say Ohio State. I think they're only going to win by 2 touchdowns. They got to, Wisconsin is going to come ready to play, but they're going to get beat down. That's what I think. So who's going to make it into the college playoffs and who's going to win the championship?
Right. Well, based on my predictions, it's pretty easy. Ohio State won or LSU won, either way. It kind of matters because whoever's 2 is going to have to play Clemson, who I think is going to be 3, which I don't think, I'm not sleeping on Clemson when it comes to the playoff. And so I'd be nervous whoever that 2 seed is. But I think Ohio State's going to be 1, LSU's going to be 2, Clemson's going to be 3. And then here's where it gets interesting. You got Utah or Oklahoma. And honestly, either one you pick, I'd be good with. But I'm going to go with Utah. I think their offense or their defense is so good. And I personally want to see them go up against LSU and see what kind of happens there. I also think their offense is better than Oklahoma's defense is. So I think they're a better overall team. And it seems to me like that's what the committee is looking for, who's the best overall team. But if Oklahoma just completely wipes the floor with Baylor, you could see Utah getting it, or Oklahoma getting in pretty well.
And then who's going to win the championship?
Oh man, given this, I'm gonna be different. I'm gonna go Clemson as a 3 seed.
Okay, that would be different.
Pulling the upset. Yep.
Okay, so my 4 teams, I have LSU number 1, Ohio State number 2, Clemson number 3, and number 4 will depend on the Pac-12 and the Big 12 championships. If the Big 12 is a blowout, whichever team wins gets in.
Mm-hmm.
If the Big 12 is a yawner and Utah looks great, they'll get in.
Mm-hmm.
But based on my picks, I think Oklahoma is going to get in. So LSU will play Oklahoma. I think LSU will win that. Ohio State will play Clemson. I think Ohio State will win that. And I think in an Ohio State versus LSU, Ohio State's going to carry it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that'd be a fun game to watch. LSU Clemson.
I am
Ohio State.
Looking forward to whatever teams get in because I think it'll be a good championship this year.
Yeah, this looks like it might be the best 3 games we've had since the beginning of the college football playoff.
I agree.
Had at least one game that was. I mean, the last year's championship game was kind of boring if it wasn't for the fact that Alabama was getting beat down. But
yep. Okay, so that's it for the conference championships leading into the bowl games. But there is one game next week.
Yes, there is.
The America's game, the Army-Navy game. I haven't seen the odds on that yet. I know Navy is probably favored by a couple of touchdowns, but that game is so determined by emotion and doesn't matter who's favored. In 1981, Navy was favored by 21 or 27, and we tied 3-3. So
sounds like a barn burner.
I'm going to pick, well, a lot of turnovers. Cold day, a lot of turnovers. Yeah. I'm going to pick Navy by a touchdown, but the game will be way too close for my comfort.
Yeah, Army's had a rough year, and a win against Navy would really make their year. Unfortunately, this Navy team is really good. Whatever Coach Ken did from last year worked, and worked magnificently. I'm gonna go. I really want to go Navy by 21 points.
I would be more comfortable.
But in this rivalry, I don't feel like you can adequately predict that. So I'm gonna go Navy by 10 points.
What we really need is a replay of the 1983 Army-Navy game in the Rose Bowl.
I do not remember that one.
Navy scored 21 points in the first less than 3 minutes, and then the rest of the game was pretty even. I think Navy won 42-13 or something like that, but Navy got way ahead, and we just had a wonderful time, and that's what I'd like to do this year.
Yeah.